Remember Blockbuster? How they dominated the video industry and then disappeared? Other companies seem to know how to pivot and keep up with technology. Today we've got a story about an organization that started out way back, distributing films to churches on 16mm film, eventually moving on to VHS and then DVD, and now provides streaming services and international film distribution.
This is the Faith and Family Filmmakers Podcast, helping filmmakers who share a Christian worldview stay in touch, informed, and inspired. Quiet on set. Rolling. Your hosts, Geoffrey and Jaclyn Whitt.
Hey, welcome to the Faith and Family Filmmakers Podcast. I'm Jeff.
And I'm Jaclyn.
And we're glad to be with you again today. We have Bill Curtis with us.
Bill is president of Christian History Institute, which owns Vision Video and Redeem TV. He has worked in the Christian media field since 1990 and has executive produced dozens of programs, including Until Forever, Vindication, and Torchlighter series.
Welcome, Bill. It's good to have you.
Pleasure to be here. Thank you.
We shared, I shouldn't say shared, but we were next door to each other for 5 days or so at the Christian Worldview Film Festival, so it was kind of nice to meet you at that point.
Yeah, it was great to meet you and Jaclyn as well.
Our first knowledge of your work and what you do would be related to Redeem TV, but there's a history there that goes back a ways. Tell us about that.
Yeah, it goes back into the early 70s. My dad got involved with making the film The Cross on a Switchblade.
Oh, I remember that.
In seminary, he worked with gangs in inner city Boston. So when he heard about David Wilkerson's ministry in New York City, he was very, very interested. And that was a long journey. The short story is, at the end of the day, the film was successful because of Dad's involvement helping to raise the funds. He ended up being in charge of the distribution after a long, tumultuous process. So that started Gateway Films, which then distributed 16mm films to churches. And then in the early 80s, when VHS came out, he started Vision Video to distribute the programs we distributed on 16mm on VHS. We started a mail order catalog, which we still have today, and then kind of rolled into DVDs as VHS has faded. And then in 2020, felt the call to start Redeem TV as, DVDs are fading out.
Right. So you saw the vision that Blockbuster didn't.
The Lord led us and preserved us. It was a long time coming. We had started an SVOD development process many years ago, and after being behind schedule and over budget, I put a pause on it, which I'm glad we did, because they're app-driven now, and the apps, they're constantly need to be developed. So in 2019, I donated Vision Video to Christian History Institute, which opened the door a few months later for us to start Redeem TV as a donor-supported service.
Okay.
I could not ever make the math work number-wise, starting a streaming service, but the donor model worked because the economics of it were different. So we started that, actually launched in March of 2020, right in the middle of the pandemic, and have not looked back.
Okay, good. That was good timing. I was going to ask you about that, actually. No memberships, no pay-per-view, no ads.
It's easy as 1, 2, 3, put your email in, create a password, you can start watching. And 98% of the programming is available at that point. There is some of it that there's a member section that has additional donor content that's newly released where a donation is required. But the vast majority of it is available to anyone who signs up. We have no ads. We are starting a fast channel that will have ads, but the subscription model will continue on without ads.
Cool.
The on-demand part of it.
Right.
What kinds of projects are you looking for when considering distributing through Redeem TV?
If we're looking for just Redeem TV, it's a more broader scope. If we're looking for distribution through Vision Video, which would be a much more wider, comprehensive distribution, including Redeem TV, possibly DVD, but then also selling it to other streaming platforms and television, that's a little bit more of a narrowed scope. But for Redeem TV, we're looking for things that are well-produced, that have a Christian worldview, hopefully that help people grow in their faith, that are edifying and building up, that provide light and share the good news of Jesus. We're looking for a broad range of programming. People love dramas, so we're always looking for dramas. We tend to have the sweet spot for documentaries, so we have a lot of documentaries.
probably our entry into Redeem TV was Vindication. That's how we got started. We really, really appreciate that show. And so thank you for your involvement in continuing to help make that happen.
Yeah, that's an interesting story. Jared O'Flaherty, we had met at a film festival, and he had just produced the first episode in season 1, just kind of as a little church mini project.
Right.
And he was going to give it away on YouTube. And we looked at it and said, I think we can sell this.
Mm-hmm.
So we put that out, and it did pretty well. And we said, this could be a series, but we couldn't sell the series. So it was just kind of really a faith journey where we said, well, let's do a second one, and then we'll be able to sell it. And we did the second one, and again, couldn't sell it. And I just felt God saying, keep pressing on, even though this doesn't make sense right now. So we worked it out to produce a third and a fourth one. People are doing this on their vacations. It's on a shoestring budget. And again, we couldn't sell it. And again, I felt like God saying, keep pressing on, do more. And that happened for 5 and 6. And we ended up with 10 episodes. And at the 10th episode, that's when it started to sell.
Mm-hmm.
And then when COVID hit and it exploded on one streaming service platform, which led them to want to discuss doing season 2, which led to season 3. And season 4 is now in post-production.
Yeah, we've been anticipating that. So we're looking forward to it very much. Just to go back for a second, Vision at a glance online is a place to buy DVDs. But it's much more than that, more of a full service distributor. Tell us more about how that works.
Yeah, that's actually the vast majority of what we do. And there'll be a new website that's just about to release that gives more detail on it. But yeah, we've been doing this for 40 some odd years. So we have lots of friends all over the world. And there's lots of television stations that we sell to. There's VOD platforms worldwide. We're working with a lot of, the majority of the VOD platforms, Christian, and a good number of the secular platforms in the United States, placing the programming.
Mm-hmm.
We have a YouTube channel, which has like 1.3 million subscribers. So that's the biggest part of what we do. We also publish Christian History Magazine and have since 1983 or 4. So that's a separate division.
Cool. And so that's under Christian History Institute. Did I say that correctly?
You did.
Okay,
Yep.
Good.
Vision Video was probably 7 or 8 times bigger than Christian History when it was donated to it. So it was a little bit strange, but it put everything under a nonprofit umbrella, which just has worked really, really well for us for financing films and saving on postage and just a whole lot of, it just simplified and streamlined a lot of stuff.
Cool. Bill, what trends have you seen in Christian filmmaking over the years? Have there been changes in your eyes?
Yeah, good question. Certainly the quality of Christian films, I think, has steadily risen.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot more filmmakers with the technology changes and the price drop in equipment. It just opened the door for lots and lots of more filmmakers
Right.
to make films. There's been a lot more movies getting into the theater.
That's true.
And that seems to be happening. And Fathom's caught on to that. And, regularly every month, it seems like there's a couple different inspirational faith-based films in the theaters where, 20 years ago, it'd be very, very difficult for a faith-based film to be in the theaters, where now the bar to entry is a lot lower.
Mm-hmm. And I guess they're proving that there's a market for it. So it's probably going to continue.
God willing.
When you say the bar is lower, what are you referring to?
Well, 20 years ago, you could four-wall a theater where you could have one theater in one town, but to do a nationwide release took millions of dollars in promotion, or just some act of God, or working with a huge studio, which was very, very rare. Now, for low 6 digits, particularly if you're connected with a large organization that'll help promote, Fathom will take on projects and they'll help with the promotion. And there's kind of a network in place, like a pipeline that's already built. And they can put it in, 400 or 500 or more theaters on a couple night basis, which just opens the door for many more opportunities.
Okay, so the requirements have changed.
Instead of having, a national release in 1,500 or 2,000 theaters, it can be smaller number of theaters and it can be a smaller period of time.
So it's more accessible.
Which makes it more affordable.
Yeah.
It's similar to what you were saying a few minutes ago about filmmakers. The whole filmmaking process is more accessible because of the price of equipment and so on. I guess it's really a good time with regards to, like you say, improving quality, improving distribution opportunities, improving theatrical release opportunities, largely based on the economics.
Yeah, I think it opens the door for creativity and people that are very, very creative. And as you know so well, Jaclyn, gifted script writers and storytellers, it's much easier for them to get their dream made into a film, where before, in the 16 millimeter days, everything was just so expensive.
Mm-hmm. I have a question, actually. How filmmaking is very much a collaborative effort, right? And there's all the different pieces that are coming together in order to make it work. I'm just curious because I'm guessing that you've seen a lot of content. And my question is there a piece of the puzzle that would prevent a project from moving forward into distribution or could potentially create the difficulty for that? Like, is there one piece that is more common than another one that could actually cause that struggle?
Well, what we see often is a lot of times people have, 3 or 4 parts of the puzzle right. They may have good directing and the acting isn't good, or they may have good directing and good acting and the camera work isn't good, or they may get a lot of the technical things right, where the acting's quite competent, the directing's good, the lighting's good, the camera work's good, but the story isn't good.
Mm-hmm.
And as I recently said recently, good storytelling will overcome not great production quality, but great production quality will not overcome a poor story.
Yeah, I agree. I've seen some of that.
If you're enjoying our conversation with Bill Curtis, make sure you check back tomorrow for part 2 of our interview. We'll get a behind-the-scenes look at Vision Video and Redeem TV. We talk about their distribution process and what types of projects are a good fit for their streaming service. Part 2 was recorded as an exclusive members episode, but since then, all members episodes have been made available to you for free. If you'd like to support the production of this podcast, you can simply go to faffpodcast.com/support and leave a tip. With regards to DVD sales, you had a progression from VHS through the years and obviously kept up with the times. How much physical product is being sold today?
Well, a lot less than was 10 years ago, and a lot less than it was 5 years ago, and probably, from our perspective, less than a year ago.
So it's declining rapidly.
Yeah, we have a direct mail order catalog. So I would say 10 years ago, 2/3 of our sale was wholesale, and a third was direct to consumer. Now it's shifted around. There's very little wholesale left. Less than 25% are probably what we do, and the vast majority of what we do is direct to consumer.
Right.
But it's an older audience. They're not an internet engaged audience, and it's not a growing audience, and they're getting called home. So it's a declining audience. So we'll see where it lands, but unless something happens, I don't think we'll have DVDs 5 years from now.
Mm-hmm.
We've seen a pretty rapid decrease in the last year.
Yeah, I'm not surprised. I don't even own a DVD player anymore. Haven't for a few years. But other than just technology changing, is there another reason?
Well, from our perspective, postage keeps going up, printing prices keep going up. We just can't find more buyers. The people that are mail order buyers of DVD product just is declining. So we're having to mail less and less. And when you mail less and less, you get less orders, and it's just a downward spiral where, 20 years ago, everything, we were growing at 30% a year.
Right. Yeah. Interesting. Well, we definitely want to hear what you're working on currently, but we're going to have to talk about that in the next interview. However, do you have any final thoughts for our listeners for this particular portion of the interview?
I would just say if they haven't checked out Redeem TV, we'd encourage them to do it. We've got a great selection of programming, and it's free to view. And it's on most streaming apps, Roku and Apple TV and Amazon Fire and the Apple apps and the Android apps.
And directly on the internet, of course.
Yeah, redeemtv.com.
Cool. And we'll put that in our show notes so people can go and find it easily there. We'll look forward to talking with you more.
Sounds good.
Thanks for listening to the Faith and Family Filmmakers podcast. If you would like email reminders about newly released episodes and more, please sign up at faffpodcast.com/email. That's faffpodcast.com/email. Bringing filmmakers together for faith and family.
That's a wrap.